Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yard Master, joining our host, the Housecoat Gamer.
Yo.
Today, we're covering another ship from the Utopia Planitia book, where the stats just don't quite match up to what is official. We're looking at the New Orleans today, as well as its successor class, and then eventually its successor class, the Lafayette. But first, I will go over book lore and book stats for the New Orleans, and then Ron can provide proper lore. So, according to Utopia Planitia, the New Orleans launched in 2364. Primary shipyards are San Francisco Orbital Shipyards, from Seoul, the Brasilia Slips, Terra, and Tycho Lunar Propulsion Limited in Luna. Overview. Soon after the development of the Galaxy and Nebula-class starships, Starfleet saw the new design style as innovative, but requiring large amounts of resources for each of the ships to be constructed. Starfleet Command issued directives to shipyards across the Federation to design and produce starships for various mission profiles using the same design elements of their newest vessels, but keeping the crew sizes smaller than the Galaxy and Nebula classes, as Starfleet Academy was still opening new facilities on many member worlds and had a limited pool of graduating officers in the early 2360s. The New Orleans class was considerably more compact than most vessels in service at the time, and its non-modular primary and secondary hulls made construction easier and took nearly a quarter of the time to build compared to a Nebula class. Capabilities. The New Orleans class has two main features that make it highly desired for planetary survey and patrol missions. A mission-adaptable sensor pod on its ventral secondary hull, and two interlinked subspace and EM sensor strips down the side of its secondary hull and along its warp nacelles. The sensor pod closely resembles the two photon torpedo/probe launch systems on the space frame's dorsal primary hull, but it contains its own isolinear computer core and as many planetary sensors as a Galaxy-class vessel had installed from the same time period. In addition, this sensor pod contains 6 fully automated remote sample probes that can enter a planet's atmosphere and return biological and geological samples to isolation chambers that are physically separate from the rest of the vessel, making contamination highly unlikely, and having a mission duration of months in low-gravity environments and days in Earth-standard environment. These same sensor networks give the space frame the ability to form a map of subspace fluctuations and turbulence around it, allowing its warp coils to tweak power output in such a way that it mimics the variable warp geometry of an Intrepid-class starship without the adjustable pitch warp pylons. Refits and variants. Current refit plans for the class center on improving its already impressive sensor capabilities. Only one variant of the class has been proposed by the Imperial Shipyards of Andoria that replaces the sensor pod on the class with a self-contained weapons platform containing phaser cannons and a quantum torpedo launcher. A prototype of this variant, Hasano, was launched in 2380, but it only had photon torpedo launchers installed rather than the more advanced quantum systems. Suggested mission profiles and campaigns. Scientific and survey operations, technical testbed, multi-role explorer. The New Orleans class fits into a generalized role in Starfleet with its mix of adaptable laboratories and weapon systems, and thus can fit into a wide range of possible campaigns. Naming conventions. New Orleans-class vessels are often named after places or people of the Mississippi Delta of North America. As more ships are produced, places in deltas from other Federation worlds will be used. Examples include...
Kyushu?
Yeah.
That's an island.
Yeah. Examples include Metairi, Laveau and Natchez. Yep, the Kyushu. Yeah, an exception right there. Anyway, stats. It's a scale 4 starship from the 2360s, so it has 56 points for systems spread out. Comms 9, computers 10, engines 10, sensors 10, structure 8, weapons 9. Its department modifiers are 1 point each in con, engineering, and science. It has phaser arrays, photon torpedoes, and a strength 3 tractor beam. And for talents, it has high resolution sensors and modular laboratories. So, according to the book, this was basically an attempt to essentially miniaturize a galaxy.
The only part of that actually makes any sense is the fact that this is a mini galaxy. There's just one problem. Registry codes. You're going to notice a bit of a trend. Let's compare the lowest known registry code of the entire class, at least that I know of, to the commissioning date. What was it? 2267?
2364.
Right. See, the lowest number I can find is for the USS Rutledge. Prepare for pain. Nova Charlie Charlie 57295. 57295.
Right.
And to make that point immensely clear, Miles O'Brien served on the Rutledge, which is a New Orleans-class starship, 10 years before he served aboard the Enterprise D.
So, at least 2349, I guess?
Judging from the registry codes, I'd say she's one of the first ships to be used in the Galaxy Development Program. A literal small-scale model.
Right.
And before anybody makes any dumb comments, there is literal, real-world precedent for this. The XF-92, I believe. In fact, I'm going to have to look that up.
Right.
XF-92... the Convair XF-92, which was basically a small-scale prototype for the Delta Dart and Delta Dagger of the Century series. Shared generally the same planform, one just, well, it was just smaller and had a nose intake instead of side intakes, but considering it was built in the late 40s, I don't blame them.
Right.
Regardless, this would be effectively their version of the XF-92.
Yeah.
A small-scale galaxy utilizing the same testbed stuff, with one exception, the fact that it has those sensor prods. Probably because the sensor technology is too bulky to be fit inside such a small-scale starship.
Yeah.
Still, despite the fact that this is a Franken ship in all the meanings of the word, it is incredibly useful and economical. After all, this thing can do all the jobs an Excelsior-class starship can do, so why not put it into mass production? It's not the first time an experimental thing has gone into mass production straight out of the box. Were it not for
Yep.
political nonsense, the Avro Arrow would have done the same bloody thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still bitter about that.
Right.
Regardless, the New Orleans would serve quite admirably as the, well, mini-galaxy. Of course, there are several problems with this, including the fact that, despite its capabilities, the New Orleans is really tiny and, well, symptomatic of the Federation's lack of interest in self-defense in the early half of the 24th century.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it's well armed. Multiple phaser banks, 2 photon torpedo launchers.
But it's not a warship.
It can take on the Cardassians with ease. But since when are the Cardassians even close to being a near-peer power with the Federation?
Yeah, the Klingons were allies. The Romulans had effed off behind their own borders.
The Federation was more interested in just negotiating their way out of everything.
Yeah. It was a time of peace, and they wanted to continue that. Of course, seems someone in Starfleet forgot one of the most basic lessons in the book. Si vis pacem, para bellum.
Seek peace, prepare for war. Something that was learned on Stardate 42761.3. You know what? I think I'm gonna play that little particular tune just to make it clear. I will be sharing that particular little ditty with Take, so he knows exactly what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Ah, yes, and I can actually hear it over the audio this time.
Strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just gonna let it play so it cements itself into your head. I suggest sending a message to Starfleet Command.
Yes, Mr. Worf, send a subspace message to Admiral Hansen. We have engaged the Borg.
Why they fired him, I will never know. Anyway, it was no match for the Borg. But Starfleet was undergoing a bit of a downsizing anyway. Mostly due to political stupidity, but what the hell.
Yup.
Despite the capabilities of New Orleans, it just wasn't good enough for the job. Hence the introduction of more combat-capable vessels, such as the Sector 001 vessels, which, ironically, are a tad bit older in some cases than the New Orleans class.
Yup. We'll be covering those eventually as well. So, let's cover stat modifications. Given the registry number of Rutledge and the time O'Brien served on it, I'm actually going to put this class... I'm going to put the entered service date for our version of this class 2344. 20 years before the book, but it works.
And considering the lengthy development of the Galaxy-class program, according to the technical manual, it took 20 years to get from drawing board to shipyard. And
the prototype coming. The New Orleans coming 15 years earlier because the Galaxy was 2359 makes sense. So that means we basically have to remove 2 systems points from the book total. Comms 9, computers 10, engines 10, sensors 10, structure 8, weapons 9. I'd say weapons.
Remember, it's a really
structure and
boat.
Weapons?
Yeah, it's a smaller boat, and it's probably not going to have the amount of guns that a larger vessel has.
Structure set. Yeah. So structure 7, weapons 8. And you can easily put those points back in as refit points if you're doing if you're doing a game in the standard starting era for a TNT game, which is 2371. So just after around the time frame of Generations, basically, or just after. Department values: 1 point in con, 1 point in engineering, 1 point in science. I don't see any reason to change that, do you?
I don't see any reason to change much of anything except the baseline starting points and the year it was introduced, because they just don't match up with the registry codes. Yes, I know someone's going to be someone's going to be saying something really stupid. USS Midway. Or better yet, USS Ticonderoga. Look it up.
Yeah.
Because someone's going to be stupid.
Anyway, descriptor trait, Federation starship, which is fine. So that's pretty much it for the New Orleans itself. But we do have one more. We do have a successor ship to cover, the Lafayette-Class starship.
Now, the fun part about this particular boat is, well, it has a registry code. At least it has a new one. NCC 91200.
91200, huh?
Yeah, so it's probably part of the the same program that would eventually lead to the Andromeda class.
Right.
And judging from its registry code, and the fact that it is the first ship of her class, it's probably going to be right around the same time as the other members of the 359er group. In this case,
right. Let me see.
The Hawaii.
Right. So 2382. All right, we are go for lore.
Starfleet decided to come out of the Dominion War running. Of course, they would have to develop new technologies and new starships, so never to fall victim to another Dominion War situation again. In fact, it was pretty much written into law that Starfleet would have an operating budget 15 times the size it had before Wolf 359. By law. So they can build more ships. But they needed more
Yep.
advanced stuff. The Akira and the boats of the Dominion War wouldn't last forever. So they needed to develop a new successor program. And while the Ross class, as introduced in the book, would prove very useful for a time, they needed to advance the Galaxy-class program. And as was the way of the boys at Utopia Planitia, they developed a new class of starship. Of course, the Sutherland class wouldn't enter service for quite some time, but they could miniaturize the technology. Ironically enough, repeating history, creating the Lafayette-Class. The Lafayette was one of the last ships to ever leave Utopia Planitia before the yard was completely blown to pieces, thanks to the Zhat Vash and their paranoia. Seriously, they believed in some stupid synthetic crap.
Yeah.
Due to this failure, the Lafayette would never see space trials, having a similar history to the Defiant class, ending up in mothballs for decades. Rather fitting because the ship actually shares a name with Take's favorite captain, Benjamin Lafayette.
Yes, Lafayette Cisco.
Of course, this would have a similar skill set to Defiant, except it would actually be able to do more things other than just fire torpedoes and phaser cannons. The Lafayette was actually stuck inside ESD during the Frontier Day incident, and supplied as much power as she could to the beleaguered station, just like the US, just like Federation 1. Of course, she sustained damage, but she was eventually repaired and put back into service, eventually serving as the prototype for a new class of starship. However, it would not enter service until the beginning of the Iconian War. 3 guesses why.
Right.
Regardless, the ship is well armed and highly capable. And despite the fact that it is basically a glorified, miniaturized version of a Galaxy, whose only role was to testbed components for the Sutherland class, it actually does a pretty damn good job.
Yep.
Now, as for her entered service date, the production model would be 2410. While the prototype
is...
Well...
Yeah, 2382. I'm going to treat this the same as the Awani class. Separate dock for the prototype and the production model. So, first we will take the 2410. So first we will take the Lafayette, and first we will do the prototype, advancing it from the New Orleans and changing up the department modifiers if we need to, and then going to the production model. So 2382 brings us up to the 2380s, so we'll add an extra 4 points to from the New Orleans profile. The first thing we'll do is we'll add those points back in that we took from the when converting the New Orleans from the book to our version. So we're back up to comms 9, computers 10, engines 10, sensors 10, structure 8, weapons 9. We have 2 more points we can put into this. So sensors 11, structure 9. Okay. Now, department modifiers. 1 point in con, 1 point in engineering, 1 point in science. Given the nature of this thing and how it's sort of similar to the go-kart, I'd say take that point from engineering and put it in security.
That actually looks pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I gave this thing the Odyssey material. Actually, it looks kind of fitting.
Yeah, it does.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah. Take the point that that the New Orleans has in engineering and put it in security.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Ugh.
And I've also replaced photon torpedoes with quantum torpedoes and added phaser cannons.
I'd put that back to photon torpedoes. I mean, let's be honest. Logistics.
Alright. Phaser arrays, phaser cannons, photon torpedoes, strength 3 tractor beam. Talents. High resolution sensors. Maybe replace modular laboratories with something else. Something more combat focused.
Rapid fire torpedo launchers. I mean, look at that. It's got 2 cheek mounts.
Sure. Rapid fire torpedo launcher it is. Rapid fire torpedo launcher. Alrighty. Now, let's go to the production. Let's go to the production model.
Probably a few probably an extra point in weapons for that one.
At least, well, we're going up to 60 points here, so we need. So yeah, weapons to 10 at least. We need one more.
I'd say power.
All right, engines to 11. So that's comms 9, computers 10, engines 11, sensors 11, structure 9, weapons 10. And same department modifiers, 1 point each in con, security, and science. Phaser arrays, phaser cannons, photon torpedoes, strength 3 tractor beam, high resolution sensors, rapid fire torpedo launcher. And descriptor trait, still just Federation starship.
Improved successor.
Improved successor, that works. We'll put that on the production model.
And for good reason. I mean, let's be honest, I like the New Orleans. In fact, I'm pretty sure everybody loves New Orleans. There's a pretty damn good reason this was the first 359er to enter STO.
Yeah. I will admit, it is pretty neat. And while I am a DS9 fanboy, I do like TNG too, TNG somewhat. But yeah, this thing... Oh yeah.
At least we can celebrate the fact that they finally fixed the damn model.
Yeah.
For you see, it used to look like crap. Orange caps.
Yes. As I said in some of our other videos, this is red. Red is good. This is red. Red is good. This is orange. Orange is no.
I now officially miss my cat. Thanks a lot.
Sorry about that, but yeah. I bought that episode of TNG for Google TV a few weeks ago. Partly because I was doing research for something for a Star Trek Adventures project. Basically,
I forgot. How the hell do we use the trinary focusing array? Yeah, because we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
You see, an STO has a, I call it the tri-focusing death beam. It reduces damage resistance to basically nothing.
Yeah. I am not entirely sure how I want to do that, so
The suggestions will be welcome in the comments. For God's sake,
yes,
put something down.
yes, suggestions would be very useful, and I will definitely see about I will definitely see about getting feedback from people on the Star Trek Adventures Discord. This will probably count as a special rule of some kind, but yeah, we don't know. We just have no idea how we want to work that. So, yeah.
Anywho, bye bye.